Hi friends, thanks for joining me. It's Morag here and I have another process video for you using the fabulous June kits. And I'm also going to be using one of the free subscriber cut files. And I picked out this beautiful moon shape with a flower cluster. I've backed the file off camera just because cut files are always a little bit slow to back, aren't they? So I guess you've seen that a million times before. So what I want to do or have in my mind is to put some mixed media on the background. And I really love the stencil that came with the colour kit this month. And I'm going to use some texture paste on the background just so I get a little starry effect behind the moon. And rather keeping the moon as the moon, I'm going to use it as a kind of dream catcher thing, whatever they're called. So I want to hang some feathers off the bottom and have things just kind of flowing down from the moon, the bottom of the moon. Now I warn you now, this video takes a little bit longer than perhaps my usual videos, just because I did spend a long time on the layout, and I love how it turned out, so I think it was worth the effort to get to the end. So I've let that dry. I would recommend that you clean your stencil up immediately because it does set hard. And I've pulled out some shimmers from some past kits. And I'm going to apply those to the bottom of the page and around the moon. So I've drawn out lightly where the moon and photo will go, and I can use that area to test my colours to see if I get the colours that I want. So this colour is called Golden Wheat. I can't remember what month we had these in, by the way, so my apologies. I know I've said this before, but if you get a chance, take the colour kits because they'll be used again and again. So, you know, it's a really good investment. I've had some of my pots, you know, since I started, and, you know, I use them frequently and they just last such a long time. So it's a really good investment. So just to help me along, I should have stuck my photo down just so that I can move the cluster on and off. Now, what I've done is when I've drawn the initial kind of outline, my photo is in a different position, and now I can't get rid of my pencil marks, so I'll have to cover that up some of the way. So top tip, stick them together first. So I'm picking a second colour, kind of a purpley pink colour, and this one I think is called Beets-Me. It matches the kits perfectly, although there's a couple of shades that were, you know, pretty close. But actually, out of the ones that I picked out, I think this was my favourite shade. Although I'll probably use more than one shade anyway. So as you can see, I've diluted the shimmers. I'm just using my brush to draw those down the page. I want to make it look as though it dripped down the page. So you just go very, very lightly with your round brush. So don't be too definite. And you could practice if you needed to into the cluster where the photo cluster will go. Can't get my words out this morning. And then when I was doing this, I noticed how the two colours had mixed together and they turned out into a third colour, which was really pretty. So I'm going back in with the golden wheat now. And in fact, I go back several times just to build up that colour because I really want it quite vivid under the moon and that flower cluster. So we've had Nouveau Shimmers in the past, so I just thought I'd try one of those. They are very, very shimmery. They're really intense. So I was just going to put a lighter colour at the top. So I feel like I didn't want all over. I just wanted sort of an intense area of colour, so your eye's drawn to that particular area. So again, I'm just using a very, very light motion just to draw those down. But that probably won't be the end of it, to be fair. And so these are the stickers in the embellishment kit, and this is what has inspired me to make this design. So some feathers, so a little bit more boho is what I was aiming for. And I'm going to cluster a few together. My camera angle's a bit weird there, isn't it? And I'm going to make some of my own feathers. So I'm going to just lightly draw. So this was a bit of an experiment, if I'm honest. I wasn't sure if it would work. I'm looking at the original feathers for a little bit of inspiration. And I'm just going to mix up some of the Shimmerz, you know, just make some rough kind of feather or leaf-like shapes is what I was after. So I was just debating, shall I use any other colours? And this one is called Cantaloupe, or is it Dandelion? One or the other. And it's just so, as I say, I've got a few to choose from. I'm just going to fill in as many as I can. So I've picked out a white cardstock that is quite heavy, not as heavy as my background. But something that I could bend, but will take a little bit of mixed media. So after letting my mixed media dry, I'm just going to finely outline a sort of feather shape. I'm just going to use a black fine liner, although I end up swapping to a brown fine liner. Just because it was a bit strong. And I'm just going to experiment with some shapes and decoration. So it's quite a fun little activity. So I didn't like the black lines on this one. I think it was just looked, I don't know, just it looked odd. But I was pleased with the others that I made. So I've used a white pen to add some dots, kind of going, so if you've got the base of the feather, they go at a slight angle in one direction. And then you can just do some little notches just to make it look a little bit more feather-like. And I say, if you use the feathers that are in the kit to give you some inspiration, it's, you know, I'm really pleased how they turned out. So you could go nuts with this. So I just trimmed those out around the markings that I'd made, turn them into little feathers, and I'm just going to cluster them together now with the stickers from the book, from the embellishment kit. And I've tried to arrange them because mine are kind of a similar size to those in the sticker book. So I will just put some a little bit lower and a slight angle to the stickers. And as I say, they add a lovely shimmer to the page, and it really kind of brings out that background shimmer. So I've got some thin waxed thread that I'm just tying around the top. Now this is a little bit fiddly, so I've wound it around the top, and then I'll have the threads kind of hang from the moon above. By the way, I've stuck the moon and photograph. Oh, it's very early in the morning here, by the way, which is why I've got a slightly croaky voice, I imagine. Yes, but I've stuck everything down onto foam tape, so it's slightly away from the background. So I thought the best thing to do was get the flowers, I'll see, I've done it again, feathers into place, and then we can arrange the twine accordingly. Rather than just cut it off at the top of the feather, I'm just going to have the one side just dangle down just for extra texture. If you were going to do a similar design, just make sure, I would say that the centre one has to be slightly lower than the side ones. And I think in hindsight, I'd have liked a little bit more room to work with at the bottom of the page there. But I would have had to have a smaller cut file or just angle it slightly differently. But it does look really cute, especially in real life. I think it's a shame that you can't just see how shimmery it is in real life. So I want to enhance the flower cluster on the moon. And I'm picking out those fantastic, and as I've said before, my favourite acetate die cuts that came with the embellishment kit. I have to say, the June embellishment kit is chock-a-block. There's so many things in there. I think they must have made a mistake because there's far more than the actual ticket price of the embellishment kit. If you don't take the embellishment kit or any extra kits at the moment, I think you get 15% off, 10% off the kit price if you take the main kit. I'm sorry, a little bit off camera here. I have pulled out some pastel furs from one of the Pocket Life kits. They're very, very small and really, really cute. And I'm just going to use that to create a title on one of the banners from the embellishment kit. So it just says enjoy today. It's a small banner, but those letters are a perfect size for a small title. And I'm going to have that go across my flower cluster. That's on foam tape, of course, as does everything. But I love how that turned out. It's just a really, really cute way to put your title in. So I'm using a Nuvo glue to adhere the acetate leaves. It does dry clear, so if it were to show up beyond the moon, then that will be fine. You won't see the glue. So I'm just going to tuck in more and more of those acetate pieces. There are so many. I've used so many in my layout so far, and thankfully I've still got more left. Although I might have to save the last few. So we are getting there for sure. So it was a bit of a messy layout today, but I'm really thrilled how it turned out. It really came out more or less how I imagined it, which is unusual for me. So I'm just adding a little bit more of the shimmers around the edges. I do like to do it once the pieces are on the page so that you can create kind of a shadow effect. So I've just added a little bit more. And because it's all vertical and not very wide, I've decided that I'm going to put a strip of pattern paper. And I've made it onto the right, so I think in my mind it's going to be more balanced that way. Whether I'm right or not, I'm not sure. So I've taken a pattern paper from the main kit, and then I've decided actually I need something between the cardstock and pattern paper. So I think, it'd be nice if it had some, I don't know, some element there. So I've looked for a ribbon, and I've gone for kind of the deep, it's kind of almost an aubergine colour, just to tone with the shimmers that I've used, and of course the die cuts. So I've tried to, rather than remove it all because I stuck it down, rather than remove it all, I tried to tuck in the ribbon below, but it just didn't work. So I've taken it back off, and thankfully with wet glue you get a little bit of time to move things about. And I'm just ruffling the ribbon onto some double-sided tape, and I'm just trying to adhere that down all over. And then I need to now re-stick, because of course I don't have much spare cardstock left, so I kind of needed to re-stick it straight. I've used that cardstock a lot, it was such a pretty colour. Anyway, I think it turns out really lovely. It's one of my favourite layouts with this kit. I love the shimmers and what that's done for the layout. It's added such beautiful detail. And do remember to subscribe to the club and you'll receive the free cut files. They're a fantastic resource, and once you subscribe you have a whole library of literally hundreds of cut files to choose from. Thank you so much for dropping in today, and I'll hope to see you next time. Bye.